sisterhood. Welcome back to yet another episode of Sisters. And just in case you can't remember who we are sisters. So today we're here in the village of Yaracabra. That's all the way on the Linden-Soosdike Highway. And we are here because we have some very interesting stories to tell you. So in celebration of Indigenous Month, we are here to hear about some folklore, some Indigenous folklore. And to tell us more about that, we have Alexi LaRose and Celeste Stull. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
So, growing up, we heard so much about folklore, and just in case you're wondering what folklore is, it's about like different cultural stories and cultural practices that we have that we grew up knowing about. I'm no Amerindian, though I wish I can be, but you see, so I try to hear and think just to get a little feel of what it would feel like. But nonetheless, I'm very in tune with the stories. And so today, tell us a little about yourself, first of all, and then you can, then we will move on from there.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
First, before I tell you about myself, I want to say that identity is not necessarily this.
Yeah.
What's in the outside is
So
just
true.
physical. Identity is what's in here and what's in here.
Definitely.
So sometimes I may look different, you may look different, but really inside you identify as something else.
Yeah.
It is all dependent on where you grew up and what kind of environment you were socialized in.
True.
No. So that being said, my name is Alexi LaRose. I was born in Maruka.
Okay.
Yes, Santa Rosa Village, Maruka, Region 1. Where I spent my early years, but because of education, etc., we moved to the city. But even though I moved to the city, I was still very much culturally in tune, and for example, when I became a young lady and I had my first menses, I did go through a ritual, even though I was living in the city. My mother ensured that she put me through that process. And
Would you share that with us?
I mean, that's a whole other story, a whole other episode, yeah. And from the end of 2012, I think early 2013, when I started working with the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, I was assigned Region 1. So I had an opportunity to be back in my region of birth, and I've been there since, not working in the region, but working with the region. So I would travel there from time to time as it's necessary. And around Guyana, generally, Indigenous and Amerindian folklore varies. There's some that are across the board, and there's some that varies. It is dependent on where in Guyana you're from.
True.
The hinterland is considered regions 1, 7, 8, and 9, while the coastline is considered 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10. But despite the division, we have Indigenous and Amerindian people across the country.
Yeah.
So if you're, for example, if you're from region 1, where Celeste and I are both from, there are a lot of open waters. There is high bush just around us, but a lot of open waters as well. And that determines what kind of folklore you would subscribe to. Yes, there is bush and there is water. So for us in region 1, we believe in a lot of like water things, like water muma, water spirit, the kind of thing. And also in things like bush dai, wijili, manchan sikiri, and the kind of thing. And when you go to now like the savannah or the mountain people or the deeper jungle people, there you have things like Kanaima and so on, which becomes like real in those regions.
Well, I came from Mabura.
Yeah.
And in Mabura, we heard a lot about Kanaima.
Right.
Because Mabura has a mixture of people.
Mm-hmm.
And the bush,
and
there
it's
is...
a forested area. So definitely I heard about that.
Mm-hmm. So, but it's interesting because I've had an opportunity to travel to different parts of Guyana. And depending on your nation will determine how deep your belief is in certain myths and legends and folklore. For example, in Region 1, yes, we know there's Kanaima. We respect it. But we don't necessarily subscribe 100% to Kanaima.
Okay.
Though we know it's there, we respect it. We're not going to test that theory. Right? But yeah, that's it. Whereas in Region 7, which is like deep jungle. Region 8, which is the mountain people, the Patamonas and so on. Region 9, the Savannah people. Their belief in Kanaima is very, very strong. Yeah, so culture and identity plays a real significant role in that belief. And even though you may say, oh, you're all Amerindians, you're all indigenous people, we're not all the same. Yes, we're not all the same. Our belief system varies. The degree to which we believe in certain things varies.
And I guess it varies too in relation to the tribes.
Yeah,
because
whatever nation you're from, you would have different things that you believe in, you know?
So tell us a little about your belief. Like, you know, we're excited to know.
In my belief.
Yeah.
First off, people may say, oh, so you believe in God, but you still believe in these things? Well, let me tell you. Culture and tradition is what forms your belief.
Yeah.
Yes, we all believe in God. And we also, but for me personally, I recognize that there is a presence of good and there is the presence of evil.
Right.
Right? So you have to recognize, because the absence of good is evil. The absence of light is darkness.
Yeah.
So there is that. I do believe that there is that in existence in our environment. So that being said, and my culture, you know, but I believe like, for example, I believe that there is water spirits. I do believe that. And, but I also like to find ways to try to logically connect these things. For example, for me, I think about Watamuma. They say Watamuma, water spirit. What is it? Some people say, oh, it's a mermaid. Some people say this or that, whatever, right? But there is something called Ori Oyo, which is Lokono or Arawak for literally translates to snake mother, like a water spirit. You want to pull your foot out now? Not yet.
I'm already thinking it like, is this the best spot?
Right? Wait, let Auntie Celeste start. Then you will hear. You definitely want to pull your foot out. And with this whole snake mother, and they tell you, do not go down to the open water, to the creek or to the river when you're in your menses. Do not go down because the water spirit will catch you. Similarly, there is one called Wijili, which is like the high bush. Do not go into the bush alone, or do not go to the farm. Do not be, walking late, because if you're with your menses, because Wijili would catch you. But when I really think about it, with the Ori Oyo, when we think about our environment in general, look around you. You're surrounded by water. You're surrounded by bush. You don't think a big snake would be living there. Anaconda may be a movie, but it's not so far-fetched again. If you're there with blood, obviously the snake would smell that and it would come for you, because it feels that it's an injured animal or some prey that's easily, that's an easy catch. So it will come for you.
Right.
So to me, the whole concept of Watamuma, I respect it in the sense that the same Ori Oyo, that is the snake mother. And we don't know how long these animals have been existing in this environment and how big they could be. And the water is dark. You really can't see what's coming for you. So I believe in that. Like, I believe, I have a heavy respect for that. Like, if I'm in my menses, I would not be doing this. Because there's a jungle around and you don't know what the little one, the big one, what it will be smelling. And remember, animals have a sharp sense of smell. Because that's how they hunt. So I wouldn't expose myself like this.
I understand. So let's hear from Miss Celeste.
Okay, well, I'm from Region 1. Born and grew in Morocco, Coco. I know much language, but my mother is an Arawak woman. And sorry I didn't get to learn the language. I could have speak.
So tell us a little about the stories,
Which is your I almost say favorite, the one that
Well, in my early age, my mother used to, tell us stories what used to happen in days long, years back that they having the watamuma, the kanaima,
Right.
and there is things you cannot go at the riverside and you cannot pick up things from the river, things like comb and bottles and so that you could, because the watamuma and the watadima, whatever they call it, is
Leave it there.
yes, so we thought they could go after you.
Right.
Whenever you pick it up there, they could
right.
Come in search.
come
Transfer,
right
like-
in search of it, and maybe sometimes we we normally go to school by boat, by canoe.
Yeah.
Yes, up in the morning we get up, get ready, go to school, and going on the way we don't even look whatever in the water because they don't give we that that warning. So we go to school, and after you get, time after time, I'd get big and say, but I was so sorry today. I was sorry that I never know to speak the language.
But have you experienced any of the folklore, or you
The
saw
cultural
something
aspect.
that
Yes.
became suspicious
Once
about?
when I was small, around 11 years, I was to a river. And when I see like a woman stand up in a white gown. And I was so frightened to walk in the same direction. That way we saw this thing, right? But when we walk around to the other shore, eventually the thing disappeared. The person like that we saw, it disappeared. The person disappeared. Girl, and we reach home, and from then on, my mother said a long time it had, she used to teach me some things and tell me some stories. Yes. Oh, sometime ago, it had a girl. She always take fish and mine it in a small pond. And when the fish get big, she and the fish disappear. And somewhere the riverside they go.
Right.
And some like a man or woman race up from the river, come up and said, look, step on this. You're going to feel something, and eventually the girl disappeared. So they used to get me scared. So,
And now I'm thinking, not
yes.
to continue, but sometimes I guess some of these stories probably was to, prevent us from being too adventurous again, because if your children, if water's there, they would want to go by the waterside, or they would want to wander off in the forest and so on. So though it might be true, we wouldn't want to go to test the waters like Laurel said. So
yes, but that is be true to me, because one time I was in Kaituma and there was a boy swimming in the river, and when he's swimming, he stand up in the middle of the river, he go more in the deep. And when he stand up there, he shake and say that he stand up on a tire. So somebody said, how could you stand up on a tire in the water? It's a deep place.
Yeah.
And eventually the boy got
You go
then
down.
go down, they didn't see the boy anymore. And when they look, the boy was already. So what it could be like the water thing, the snake, or the whatever it could be that,
yeah.
catch
But
and but 2 hours we live after he did.
Okay.
He didn't live like the thing breaking that way. So maybe some people might believe, some people might not believe,
Yeah.
but there is things that you should never doubt about.
True.
Because
They say belief kills and belief cures.
So you got to know how to believe certain things.
Growing up, I heard, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, the Masakura man, is it linked to the indigenous community or no?
Well, this Masakura man is something like the Kanaima. Could be. I don't know if it's if it could be the if it could be the Kanaima, but the Masakura man, what they speak about, they say it's a man that's come out from the forest. He live in the forest. And when he come out to you, you got to look at the toe. They say you only have one toe.
You gotta look at his toe.
Start his toe.
Then you know what kind of man he
If you
is.
know, if it's the only one toe he on the boat, you know this is the Masakura man.
Say if a random man shows up, look at his toe.
Yes.
What story you will share with us today?
Yes, with the Kanaima.
Well, they have, before we get to Kanaima, I remember one time I went to a village in the Barama River called Waikaribi. And they would tell me things, and I'd be like, no, that's not true. You're just making this up. They're like, no, you don't believe me? Call X and Y and ask them. So it's actually something that they would have experienced. And the farmer to show said that, well, how the village is set up, the creek is at the entrance of the village, and that's where they go to do everything. And the school is on the hill and so on.
Okay.
So his house is closest to the creek, not directly, but the closest house to the creek. And he said one day, it was during school hours, and he heard, like, you know, when children they're bathing in the creek, they were swimming and keeping nice and screaming and, you know, having fun, whatever. And he heard this noise. So he said, let me go down and see which one of these children skulking and playing in the creek when they should be in school. And when he went down, there was nobody. There was nobody at the creek. And he said he looked around and he heard this noise still. And he looked and he was looking and looking. And when they do realize, it was a massive anaconda. Making the noise of the children to call the other children. Like if let's say a random child would hear passing, oh look, my friends are there swimming, let me go and see. And then when they go, obviously anaconda is waiting there. And of course I doubted him. He's like, no, that's not true. He's like, yes. He's like, and the village, the men had to hunt this anaconda. And they hunted it and they killed it, he said, and it was still, as they were following it, it was still keeping the noise to carry them deeper and deeper into the swamp and the jungle. Yes. Yeah, and they eventually found it and they killed it. So many times these myths are not really myths. It's how we interpret it. Yes. What happened?
But there's one. Because like I said, my mother, she came from the Demerara River. We call it Down the River. People in there would know Down the River. And they said that there is this man beneath the water that, like, if you try to shoot it or anything, that your gun would freeze or something like that. It's like
no, they say if you use silver in the gun.
Yeah.
If you use or you have silver on you, the gun won't freeze. It would snap.
Yeah.
Right.
What is he called?
I don't know.
Oh, so this is just in relation to any hunting gun?
No,
like,
no.
just this particular for this man. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me share my little. Let's get Celeste first. Not Celeste. La Rose first.
About what? What do you want to hear now?
The Canaima.
Canaima. I feel like I've been talking about Canaima a lot recently.
All right, so let me share what I have learned about the Canaima, because when I was at the University of Guyana, we had to do a study about folklore and oral tradition, and like how we would pass on these stories to generation after generation, because obviously they happened years ago. We weren't even there. So we visited St. Cuthbert Mission, and they told us a lot about the Watamoma and the Canaima. So that is when I got to realize, like, the belief of the Canaima is not what we would hear while we were traveling down from Linden to Georgetown, because when we were younger, we heard that if you see an animal on the road at night, don't kill it, because people told stories that they killed it and then it disappeared, or they ended up in an accident,
or
they died or something like that. So I was so interested into how this thing would really happen. So when I went, they told me that the Canaima, they believe that it's something that you're born with, like it's a gift that you're born with. And you have good Canaima and bad Canaima. Yes, and they said that the bad Canaima is what people use as a form of revenge to somebody who may have wronged them in some kind of a way. And so they would transform into different things, whether it be an animal, whether it be a person, or so on. But it has the ability to transform and to mimic songs and like probably looks of other things,
like a human being, like
a person or an animal too.
Yes.
So I am like, this is so not true. Like, I can't believe this. And I met this very old Amerindian woman. I can't remember what's her name, but she had tons of stories. Like, I could have sat there all day and listened to this woman. And she was like, she had her sister had experiences with Kanaimo. And she said she went out and she came home, but she came home late. And when she got in, you know, they went to bed and everything like normal. And then they heard the fowls chuckling. And they said, but it's who tormenting these fowls like this? And so they went out into the yard now to check. And when the same sister that came home late, she went out. And when she got out there, she just disappeared. And the fowl, because nobody else that was at home did not go out to see what was happening. You know, what was happening. She didn't coming back. But I guess they just said it's just the fowl, so everybody slept like normal and so on. And then she disappeared. And it's like 3 days after they got her back. But right at the doorstep.
Okay.
And when they found her, she was battered. And she was bleeding. So I am like, somebody just probably catch you and beat you. I'm like, why are you making this big thing? And they said, no, actually she was bleeding internally. And what the Kanaima usually does, it knots your intestines, right? That's the word I was looking for. It knots your intestines. And sometimes they said it packs your inside with sand or leaves or something like that.
The leaves, people say leaves.
Yes, and so that's how they found her. And she lived like a couple of hours, and then she died. So I am like, this is like, we need to get out of here. I mean, nobody, I mean, got no problem in here, but I don't want to get problem with anybody.
This story is about a deer, a big deer. Every afternoon, this deer coming out to the people farm, the end of the farm. So every afternoon when the father go to the farm, he wait every afternoon this deer. And when the deer see the deer running away back in the bush. Anyway, the afternoon he go again. When he reach there again, no deer. It happened like for 1 week or 2 weeks. And it prolonged like for the 2 weeks on. Well, knowing that this man, the man's son, went to Baramo and bring away a woman, a girl or whatever, from Baramo. So when he sleeping with this woman in bed at night, this woman just come out and reach this man, knowing that was the deer turn. So the woman turned to the deer or whatever, I don't know. Yeah, well, this night now, this man say, every night he doesn't know when this woman go out. He's wait till she say she's going to urinate till the yard corner because, you know, Amerindian people, they say like the race and say, you know, they grow and thing. So the night now, he oversleep, he said like something put it to sleep. When he wake up, the woman wasn't there next to him. When he got out of the bed and go to the end of the yard, now there was a woman lying dead on the ground. When he go and he find out, he said that the next night he dreamed that this man come and tell you that he bring away my wife and I come for she. But I won't take your life, I just do what I got to do. So the deer, the man turned into a deer in form of a deer, and it was the Kanaimo. So probably it's them things be true. It's a story, is why
I would test it.
Yeah, you've heard a lot of stories, and sometimes we say, "Oh, these things can be true."
No, it's true.
But
it's true.
Sometimes you have to wonder, really, because, like I was saying, other parts of the country, it's a heavy belief, and
yes,
people believe.
Maybe some people don't believe
that Kanaimas are generally trained assassins. You just can't wake up one day and say, "I want to be a Kanaima."
No,
it's something that's
because it's something that whether it's not, it could be somebody. You know, show you how to do this thing. You got to be trained or taught by somebody else. Some people say it has to be a leaf.
Yeah,
and some people say the leaf you got to get and you got to chew the leaf or put the leaf under your tongue. Plenty things you don't say, but really I never try it. But if I could have tried, I would have tell you exactly.
But the whole concept of Kanaima is it's very secretive. It's very mysterious, so that it's not something we discuss.
And
this is what
everybody could know about it.
It's not, but it is believed that
Yeah,
it
and
does
most the
exist, and
Kanaima come from Amerindian.
you can transform into whatever you want and do whatever you want. I don't believe that there is any good Kanaima.
No,
Maybe
I'm
they
saying.
use their powers to also hunt when they transform because
Yes.
they're easy to catch prey. But mostly Kanaima, it's for revenge killing, you know, and it's not good.
And they say we catch you alone,
It's not
they
good at
just
all.
use guana tail. They use the guana tail to push it inside you. So when it come out now, remember it got a
that
groove.
jib,
Yes, I got pull out your guts and push leaf inside it. So I got to be careful with the Kanaima.
So, Alexia, as we wrap up, I mean, I was
Yes.
to wrap up, but what, aside from the folklore, but how, tell us a bit about, speak to our Guyanese audience and people who are watching from abroad. What is the single most important thing you would want to leave with them as a proud indigenous, two proud indigenous women?
Okay, well, I must say, from the beginning, the American was uncivilized. But time and time we grow up, we get civilized now. So we don't really know much about things that, but just stories that we hear from it. I'm proud that I'm Amerindian and I'm an Arawak Amerindian. I'm an indigenous woman. The dear man said, the queen going and make sauce. He said, no, I make sauce. I, right now I eating bread. I eating bread. I eating cassava bread anymore. He said, oh, so wait. I said, I'm in Georgetown. So, okay, that's what eating bread. When in Morocco eating cassava bread. You still
I love the
I said, well, I was bread alone.
Yeah.
So, yes, over to you, Nolly.
I think that as Guyanese, we should understand that Guyana is not one people. Guyana is made up of a multitude of different peoples, and the indigenous peoples, they also have a multitude of nations, and we should understand that it is our differences that make us special. It is our differences that makes us Guyanese, and we should have no reason to discriminate against each other. I mean, we get it enough from all around. So why would you want to make it harder on your brother and sister, be they indigenous, be they Amerindian, be they Afro-Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese, whatever. We're one, we're Guyanese, and we should celebrate our differences. And
yes,
and each day, and each day we should make it a personal goal to learn something about someone else.
Yeah.
That's true.
We need to educate ourselves. And then we will realize that we're more alike than we're different.
Yeah.
Right.
If we really look at our history, we're definitely more alike than we're different. So,
God.
as Guyanese, keep that at the front of your mind, not at the back. In helping you to learn and appreciate our culture as Guyanese a little bit more, I'm doing a heritage alphabet, which is mostly based on either local or Wara words. And I'm now at letter N. I did M yesterday. So I'm now at letter N. So I want you to go on to YouTube and join me in learning a new word each day. You can look for Alexila. It's Facebook and YouTube. And that's it.
And Colin, you want to tell us about this year's theme?
Yes, this year's theme for Indigenous Month is fostering traditional practices for a safe environment.
Yeah.
All right, there you have it. We heard so many stories about our indigenous brothers, and we respect them and we really appreciate them because it makes Guyanese as a whole, it makes our culture rich, and it makes it attracts people to come to see what more we have to offer. So thank you for joining, sisters, and we do hope that you like and subscribe to our page and stay tuned for the next episode.